The ballroom at the Turning Point USA conference was already buzzing when Donald Trump took the stage. Not just with energy, but with that sharp-edged tension that fills a room when something unpredictable is about to happen and no one wants to miss it. Trump was the headline speaker, as always. The red velvet ropes, the booming entrance music, the roaring chants of USA and Trump 2024 were all familiar by now. But there was an extra edge in the air this time. Because earlier that week, Elon Musk had made a rare public statement that directly criticized Trump's campaign strategy, suggesting that the former president's influence was fading and that America needs leaders, not entertainers. It was subtle, but it was enough. And when reporters asked Trump about it backstage just minutes before his speech, he had only said one thing. He'll find out. The room fell quiet the moment Trump reached the podium. Not silent, but watchful, attentive, like a crowd that sensed something unexpected was about to unfold and didn't want to miss a single word. Trump didn't start with his usual opening lines. He didn't talk about the economy. He didn't mention Joe Biden. He didn't even open with a joke. Instead, he looked out at the audience and said, "I want to talk about a man named Elon Musk." That was the first cliff edge. The air tightened. Phones came out. Heads turned. Trump's tone was calm at first, almost casual. He said, "You know, I liked Elon. I really did. He came to the White House, begged me for subsidies for Tesla, cried about competition, said China was undercutting him. And I helped him, because I believed in American innovation." The room stayed quiet, hanging on every word. Trump leaned forward slightly. "But now Elon thinks he's tough. He thinks he can take little shots from a distance and I won't respond. That's not how this works." The tension was real now. Not manufactured. Not performative. Real. Trump continued. "He says I'm fading. He says I'm an entertainer. Well, let me tell you something about entertainers. Entertainers don't take on China. Entertainers don't bring back manufacturing. Entertainers don't build the best economy this country's ever seen." Then his voice dropped lower. "You know what Elon Musk is? He's a coward with a wallet." There it was. Gasps moved through the room like a wave. No one had expected him to say it so directly. Trump continued. "Elon has all the money in the world. He can launch rockets, buy social media companies, and play CEO on 5 different stages. But when it comes time to stand for something, when it comes time to put your name behind a cause that might actually cost you something, he disappears." He looked straight into the camera now. He didn't support me when it mattered. He sat on the sidelines, watched the media lie, watched this country fall apart, and all he did was tweet. For a few seconds, there was only silence. Trump's voice took on a quieter intensity. He talks about free speech, but fires employees who disagree with him. He talks about courage, but lets his lawyers do the talking. He talks about the future, but he's never once fought for the country that made him rich. He paused, letting the words settle. Elon wants to be liked. That's the difference. I wanted to win. He wants followers. I want results. He wants applause from the global elite. I want jobs for the American people." The crowd began murmuring, unsure whether to clap or keep listening. Trump wasn't giving them the usual rhythm. He wasn't doing the rally speech. He was doing something else. He said, "Let me tell you about men like Elon. They build things, and that's fine. We need builders. But when the time comes to fight, they hire someone else to take the hits. They hide behind PR firms. They think money equals backbone." He shook his head. "It doesn't." Another beat. Another shift. Trump's voice softened, but it didn't lose its edge. "I remember a time when being a billionaire meant taking risks. Putting your name on the line. Standing up for something. But not with this guy. This guy tweets memes while Americans are losing their homes. He sells flamethrowers while fentanyl pours across the border." The crowd started murmuring again, louder this time. They weren't used to hearing Trump go after someone who was supposed to be on their side. Someone who had become a hero to many in the same circles. But Trump wasn't backing down. He said, "You know what real courage is? Real courage is running for president when they say you can't win. Real courage is getting impeached twice and coming back stronger. Real courage is showing up, not tweeting from a private jet." Then he delivered the line that would go viral within minutes. Elon Musk is what happens when you give billions of dollars to a man who's never had to bleed for anything. The room went still again. He continued, his tone now reflective. I don't hate him. I just see him clearly. And the American people deserve leaders who've been through something, who've lost something, who've fought for something more than a market share. That was the shift, the pivot from attack to meaning. Trump said, this country is not a tech startup. It's not a stock to be traded. It's not a brand. It's a family. And you don't abandon your family when things get tough. The crowd began to applaud now, slowly at first, then building. He said, so Elon, if you want to lead, start showing up. Not with checkbooks, not with tweets, but with courage. Until then, don't lecture me about influence. I earn mine. The applause was growing now, rising into cheers. But Trump wasn't smiling. He ended simply, I'm not here to entertain you. I'm here to fight for you. And that's something a coward with a wallet will never understand. The speech ended, but the room didn't move. People clapped, people cheered, but there was a delay in their reactions, as if the weight of what had just been said took a moment to register. Trump stepped away from the podium without waiting for music. He didn't flash a thumbs up. He didn't wave. He just nodded once, briefly, and walked off stage while the crowd was still standing. Backstage, aides scrambled to process the moment. Phones buzzed. Screens lit up. Clips of the line, "A coward with a wallet," were already circulating on social media. Within 5 minutes, it was trending worldwide. At SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne, someone showed Elon the clip. He watched it with that familiar detached expression, the same one he used in earnings calls and press conferences. He said nothing at first. Then he said quietly, he's angry because he's losing. But something in his tone betrayed a flicker of unease. The internet was not so calm. Within the hour, right-wing influencers began choosing sides. Some praised Trump for calling out what they saw as Elon's opportunism. Others called the speech divisive and unnecessary. A few even suggested it was the first real fracture between two titans of the modern conservative movement. But what no one could deny was that it landed. Not because it was loud, but because it was true. Or at least, it felt true to the people who had grown tired of being talked down to by billionaires who seemed to treat the country like a code base. Elon responded the next day, not with an apology, not even with a rebuttal, just a tweet. It said, bold words from a man banned from most platforms. I guess we'll see who's really fading. It was classic Musk. Provocative, dismissive, clever, but it didn't land the same way. Because the thing about Trump's speech wasn't just that it called Elon out. It stripped something bare. It forced a question. When history looks back on this era, who will be remembered as the one who stood in the fire? Who actually took risks for the country they claimed to care about? Who showed up when it counted? The debate didn't stay in headlines for long, but it lingered in the air. It made its way into boardrooms and barbershops, into cable news roundtables and family dinner tables. And as the election season wore on, the contrast Trump had drawn between the fighter and the financier began to define more than just the two men involved. It began to define the stakes. Trump was not always right. He was not always fair, but he knew what his audience felt. They didn't want another app. They didn't want another promise of innovation. They wanted someone who would take the hits for them and keep swinging. And Elon, for all his brilliance, had never really been punched. The speech didn't destroy Elon Musk, but it did reveal him. And it reminded the country that leadership isn't just about intellect or money or disruption. It's about who bleeds and who hides behind the people who do.